Hi, everyone. This is Everton de Oliveira. I'm talking from the Groundwater Project, and we have the pleasure to bring to you Gani Nessipbekov. He's from Kazakhstan, and he's working with us. He's a volunteer, and one of the first volunteers that we had. So we have the happiness to have him here and talk to you a little bit about the Groundwater Project and how he sees things. Okay, Gani. Gani is, as I mentioned, Gani Nessipbekov is from Kazakhstan. He's a hydrogeologist working for the mining industry. Welcome. Please talk a little bit about yourself, Gani, please.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be part of this project. Hello everyone. I'm Gani Nessipbekov, and as it was said, I'm from Kazakhstan, and we have actually quite an interesting story how I joined the project. So actually, by training, I started as a water resources engineer. I got my first degree back in 2006. Then I started working for a consultancy company for a couple of years before I went to UK to pursue my graduate studies. After which, for some reason, I started working for university. It was a nice project to start a new university from scratch. I felt like it was good to be part of it. So you can have your, a footprint, contribution to the development of an academic institution of international class and standard. Then I joined the university. But after a while...
You joined university in Kazakhstan?
Yes, I worked for university in Kazakhstan, but not as an academic member, but for mainly administrative member. So I was project managing establishment of two departments. One is like a department of engineering, where we work together with University College in London. Okay. And then after that, I tried myself a couple of years in research, which did not end up very well. So I went back to administration, and I actually project managed the establishment of School of Mining and Geosciences in very close collaboration with Colorado School of Mines. That was actually an interesting project. We established three departments, mining engineering, petroleum engineering, and geosciences, where I was lucky to meet with very great names in those three industries all across the world. And I actually learned, I think I learned a lot from them. And some of the people sort of influenced on me to rethink my life or my career, what am I doing? And then I had a couple of years to think about, then I joined the mining company. I decided that's sort of my first training. I spent a lot of energy, effort, and years training myself to become a water resource engineer or hydrogeologist. Then I joined the mining company. So while doing so, I had some sort of a guilt or something, I don't know, that I'm leaving the academia without a real contribution to the academia, particularly in Kazakhstan, because all my studies were funded by government, and I had some sort of, obligation to fulfill. And then for a long time, we had a problem in Kazakhstan. So we did not have many textbooks available, particularly in Kazakh language. There was some in Russian, but they were really old. It sort of all coincided because of the collapse of the Soviet Union in early 1990s. Some of the professions as geologists, hydrogeologists, or some a technical or difficult professions, they become less popular because the country entered some a tricky situation or period of the country's life, a market economy and everything. New professions popped up, so people prefer to study something else. And it resulted in a huge, the generation gap in professionals, among professionals. I mean, as a hydrogeologist in Kazakhstan, all hydrogeologists know each other, although it's a big country.
Very big.
Very few of us, and we all know each other because, as I said, there's really low number of people willing to study for hydrogeologists. And this also sort of resulted in the absence of good resources, teaching and learning resources for all difficult subjects like geology, hydrogeology. And then that was sort of my idea for a long time, maybe to come up with a textbook myself, but I thought that was way too ambitious for me at these early stages. And then I decided I'll just go to the classics. So I'll just approach them. Maybe they will allow me to translate the textbooks, and we'll see. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Exactly.
So I had like a list of, I mean, there are like a handful of classical textbooks in hydrogeology. So the Freeze and Cherry was like the number one, actually. Yeah. I started looking up the contact details of Alan Freeze and John Cherry, and I did not find Alan Freeze's contact details on the web. So I found John Cherry's contact details. I was a website called, I think, the Groundwater 360 or something.
Yes.
Yeah, from that website. And I just sent an email saying, well, introducing myself, and this is the situation, and would you consider allowing me to translate your textbook into Kazakh? And yeah, like I think the very next day I have a reply from a living legend in hydrogeology. That was quite touching moment in my life.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sort of coincided, actually, which I did not know, that there's this very big project was emerging at that time. It was like a late last year. And then John sent me his the vision and strategy for Groundwater Project, which is a book itself.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So
you may translate that into Kazakh if you like.
Yeah, why not? So yeah, it's actually it turned out very well. It turned out much more like a larger impact project than I was initially thinking of, and I'm really happy to be part of it. It's great.
Actually, that was very timely because we were cooking the idea of the Groundwater Project. It was coming, and we were preparing. Actually, we had some translations. It started with some translations in a group from Calgary, right? So they put some translations into the web, and John invited me to translate into Portuguese. So we had this. Actually, I tried a crowdsource translation, and it worked very well. And from that we said, well, why don't we go for many other languages, because the book is good. And then we started creating other books, and John has this huge ambitious project. It's okay, let's make it work. And then you were there at the right timing. That was
just perfect timing.
That was very good. That was very good. But translating the book it's a long book, like 600 pages. So it's not
it is not an easy task,
weekend, right?
It is not an easy task. Yeah, I would say.
No, it's not an easy
task.
Because
in some of the texts, in some places, you have sort of, you want to preserve the attitude or sense of humor that John put into his wordings.
Exactly.
And translating those or communicating those in the language you're translating to it's so difficult.
I know. It's well, this is a translation in itself. It's an art, because it's that's why I had that same experience in translating into Portuguese. His writing style, as you mentioned, has some sense of humor. It's not only technical stuff that it's very dry, right? So
yes.
And you have to work to preserve the feeling, right?
The original content of it.
Yes, it's not easy, but it's good. So tell us, you're translating first into Russian and then into Kazakh, and how is that? Because you have twice as much work than
yes, than you had. Yeah. Well, I have 3 times less work than you had, because you gave me all your materials and drawings. They're really helpful, especially the drawings. It's saving a lot of energy and time. Thank you for that.
No problem. That was a work in progress, because that came from the group Hydrogeologists Without Borders. They first send me the material, then I work them into PowerPoint and something like that. And it's well, and of course you have a better result after that, and we can work from there.
Yes. Yes. So we translate into Russian first because, well, as an ex-Soviet Union country, Russian is the dominating language here still, and I think it will be for a foreseeable future, anyways. And people are mostly bilingual here, and everyone prefers to speak in Russian, and especially technical language, technical literature, and as I mentioned, all the good dictionaries. They're all from English to Russian, as in Russian to Kazakh. So it is possible if you want to challenge yourself to translate directly from English to Kazakh, but I would not recommend doing so because you'll just end up coming up with lots of new terminologies yourself.
Oh, yes. Oh, but that's actually this is one of the ideas. The idea is the idea of translating into local languages. It's because the science enlarges the language because it brings vocabulary and new ways of seeing things. Yeah. So it is good to have the translation, not only using English, right? By the way, are your classes are the classes in university taught in Russian or Kazakh or both?
Yeah, it's both. So you choose which language you want to study. So myself, I started studying my undergraduate in Kazakh, and that's where I noticed that there were no resources in Kazakh, no good resources in Kazakh because by the end of first year we ended up getting all the materials from textbooks in Russian and then translating them into Kazakh. And then I said to myself, well, I'm not studying here to be a translator, so I would just switch and study in Russian.
Well, but you ended up
I ended up being a translator, yes.
Well, you had previous experience. You know, knowledge is always useful. You can always resource from your knowledge. That's very good. That's very good. The idea then is, well, we could then, as we mentioned before, we could bring in some more friends from Russia because now that the project is getting bigger. And if you allow to shore up more friends and more hydrogeologists, maybe you could speed up your translation because it's not easy.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful because, I mean, I'm still translating the first book, and there's already 3 new books available. Oh, yeah, and we also have the Dean Apple book, which is the 4 new books waiting to be translated.
Well, yeah, and we're preparing actually until the end of next year. We expect to publish about 150 to 200 books. So there'll be plenty of fun for everybody. All hydrogeologists in Kazakh busy.
That would be a lifetime hobby then.
Well, that's what we do, right, for a living.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. So the idea is translating that, and we can get some more people. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience in translation? Because from when I had that, one of the things that I suggested to people, and I'm suggesting to you as well, is that we have first, let's say would be the bulk translation, people translate into the language, but then you have to review and try to give the style, right? This is a second part of the job, right?
Yes.
If you have one translator that is very good, he can do all at once, but that's not easy. So it's what I recommend. I'm asking you, what do you think about that? Is that you can have lots of people working, and we can get the best ones to help finalizing, like reviewing and writing the final text.
Yeah, well, our approach is quite similar. So we translate chapter by chapter. We actually divide one chapter to whatever, a number of us available to translate. And then it's just, we translate all the text. We don't translate figures and tables. I think, no, we do tables, not figures, because figures takes time. People are not comfortable with editing, all this stuff. Yeah. So we just translate everything. Then I compile myself everything and try to sort of give a style, as you said. and I put the drawings with translations, and then I send it back again to people, to everyone, so they can see the sort of final result. Maybe they have some last minute polish up changes, and because they spent more time on this particular extraction from the text than I did, although I did a lot.
Yes, I know, I know.
But I think when you translate a certain portion, you feel that portion better than the person who is sort of compiling everything. And maybe when someone will change your wording, you would sort of you would not feel comfortable because you tried to preserve something from the original text or something. So I think it's a good idea to send back to everyone the final result and get the final sort of last minute
Yeah,
feedback.
well, I didn't. I just well, it was too much work. No, but it was fun. Well, because we have different translations. Some of them were very, very good. Most of them were very good, but some of them were very close to what you expected, right? And some others needed some more help. But at the end, we need to publish it and say, okay, I'll take the responsibility of making it the last version. And if it's wrong, that's my fault. But one thing that you mentioned that it would be interesting to have this into this interview that people could see is that in our experience here, we divided the book into text and into illustrations, right? Tables would be translated as text, as you mentioned. And but then with the illustrations, we have two steps. We had figures that would be translated, so people get, and they used the structure we use as, we get and I sent that to you, and if someone else wants to translate, we'll send the material as well. They get the illustrations, and they just put a text box on PowerPoint on top of every word that they translate, or every sentence or ever, right? They don't have to do the editing. They just work that on PowerPoint. And then we had other people, we had some reviewers sent back to the editor that was the reviewer. And from that, we would send to other volunteers that would be good on CorelDRAW, Illustrator, or all those tools for drawings, right? And so they didn't even need to know the translation.
The discipline,
because some of the words are, school.
Yes.
So there's some artwork there. There is not translation. So we had the group that people that worked only to make a final drawing. So they sent back the one. So that worked quite well. So we had some.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, because all this formatting and with illustrations, it's a bit painful. It is time consuming, yes.
It's time consuming. So I suggest you get them all in PowerPoint. Well, what I suggest, that's what we're trying to do. If we have translations that we can have people involved, many people involved, like we had here in Brazil, what is good is that once the book is done, and we have lots of students that don't have the English skills, the proper English skills, they would like to help, but they're very good at using this, this software for making illustrations and things, and they're very bad, they're very good. They're much better than I am, which is it's not very hard to be better than myself. So once we get that done, we have another thing that was very good. These guys, they were very helpful into distributing the book, because then we send and we put their names on the social media, for example, like helpers, and their names are on the book. So when you release the book, they have their names on it, which is very interesting for a student, right? And they help distribute, and it worked very well. So I strongly advise you to get volunteers, and you can get, if you send a message on LinkedIn, for example, many people would come, right?
Yes.
Actually, many more than we anticipated. We had 500 people, around 500 people volunteered. So I suggest you could do that, because then we'll have more books coming, and these people will be aware, and they might be willing to translate themselves. The books are going to be smaller, up to 100 pages. 100 is still big. But it's not 600, right? 600 is very...
It is not 600, yes.
Yes, yes. So that's very good. So the idea, tell us a little bit, because since we're here, tell us a little bit about the hydrogeology in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a huge country, very big. Is it the 7th in the world?
I think it's somewhere close with Argentina, I think 7, 8, 9.
Okay, it's as big as Argentina.
Something like
It's very
this.
big.
Yeah.
Argentina, I know very
I
well.
mean,
It's
although
my
you wouldn't
country.
say from the first sight that it's a big country because we have humongous neighbors.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, we have Russia on north and
North
China
of you
on
is all
west.
Russia, exactly.
Yeah, and Kazakhstan looks small, but in fact it is huge as well.
No, exactly. It's because you have China close, Russia,
Yes.
then it looks small, but it's not. It's a very big country.
Well, I think regarding the hydrogeology, I mean, well, country considers itself as a young country. I think, and as I mentioned, the collapse of Soviet Union resulted in some negative. It had a negative impact on the development of many things, including academia, including some certain sciences as geosciences. But it is becoming much better. As you might know, Kazakhstan is very rich for mineral deposits, and mining is rapidly developing. Yeah, and some people even sort of forecast that the next mining boom is going to be somewhere around Kazakhstan, and so but we will see. Yes, and with the development of the mining, I mean, all the associated disciplines are developing as well, including hydrogeology. So I work as a hydrogeologist for a mining company in Kazakhstan. Here we mainly produce chromite, iron, and coal. And there are many other companies that deal with zinc, copper, gold, and everything, like very different commodities. And every day we see that the challenges we face, they require the modern technology, which sort of forces the specialists or on site and people in general to develop themselves to be able to use those modern technologies, to get the new knowledge and the skills to understand the benefits of those new technologies in application to their everyday work. So projects like this, I think, is going to have a huge impact on developing those skills and knowledge and gaining knowledge for like our hydrogeologists, for example, our company or site people on mine sites. They'll get the basics straight. They will be familiar with all the advances, the current advances that are going on in the discipline. And I think since they have experience of working in mining, I think they will know how to utilize those new knowledge and new technologies in their work.
That's very good.
And
but also because you have usually each culture develops its own way of solving problems, and this will be good to be incorporated into the Groundwater Project as well. We wanted to have a project that is a two-way, road. You can offer some material, but not like the big guys. Oh, look, we know everything. No, that's not the idea. Get the information from everybody and distribute to the others in the world. The idea is to help each other and develop a community, not only offering ready-made material to everybody. That's the idea.
Yeah, well, you cannot sort of solve everything with one bullet, right?
That's true. That's exactly the truth. Exactly. And usually what we see is that we have very nice ideas, because when, different cultures, as I say, language is the way you think, right? How your brain work, and you tend to think differently because your tool is different, right?
Yes.
Which is which is good for the health of the world, because people thinking differently brings more solutions to the same problem, which is good.
Yeah.
So the idea is to work together, and we're developing tools. So since you're a volunteer, it would be good to have you close to us to develop things.
Thanks. And also, I think in terms of the hydrogeology, I mean, groundwater in general in Kazakhstan is sort of considered as a strategic resource. Since like almost 70% of our surface water bodies are transboundary rivers, so we hugely depend on our neighbors, particularly like China and southern neighbors. So I think for a long time, I think back from Soviet Union time, the groundwater resources in Kazakhstan was considered as a strategic. There is also like the huge potential that you can get from using the groundwater, but you have to be knowledgeable enough to use it in a sustainable manner, not to
use it wisely.
Yes. So also, I mean, we mentioned Kazakhstan is huge, and since it's huge, it has huge potential in agriculture. I mean, we have lots of land.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the agriculture and hydrogeology can be sort of married together here in Kazakhstan, that would be a great contribution to the development of the country. But you have to be really wise and skillful in using the resources.
Oh, I totally agree. Totally agree. Kazakhstan, from what I've read, well, about 80% of the consumption water comes from groundwater, which is a huge portion, right?
Yes.
It's quite important. Well, we hope we can work together and see how it goes. All right. Well, our time is running out here. So would you like to make some final statement, tell from your experience, and what would you suggest for people who are willing to translate some of our books or to help working on the project, please?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think first of all, I mean, I think it's a really nice project. I think it is very noble project as well, because I mean, you see that people doing science for the sake of science, and lately people started doing science for the sake of commercialization, which is totally not the case here. I mean, Here we have hundreds of people with excellent experience, some of the outstanding, I mean, I would say leaders of the discipline contributing or jointly contributing to the development of this project and sharing the materials with everyone who is willing to use it. I think you have to be you have to be someone who is really strong personality, or like a really wise man with a big heart to do so. And I hope that it will have benefit for millions of people around the world. And for those who are sort of still thinking of joining or not joining the project, who is thinking of all the hassle of translating, I mean, just don't dive in, because even if you are a student who is familiar with some of the terminologies, or even if you're a student of, I don't know, the second year, third year student studying geology, hydrogeology, just by translating the classical textbooks, you can learn the discipline. You can learn it from the first row, from the legends itself. Because when you translate, you just read it several times, day and night. You try to absorb all the information, rather to be able to communicate back in different language. And in order to be able to communicate in different language, you have to understand it perfectly. So this is also a sort of a learning tool if you would like to use it.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. I'm sure we're gonna use that. I'll ask you a favor then. We're gonna use, since we're going to release into the YouTube, our channel, the Groundwater Project channel on YouTube, and we're gonna have the subtitles in English, because this comes automatically, and we just fix it some of the wordings there. If you would be willing, and your friends, to help translate the subtitles into Russian and Kazakh into YouTube, that would be very welcome, because we're going to distribute that on the social media. And if you distribute that in your own language, that's going to be a huge impact that I hope will spread the word of the good words that you put. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I'm really sad you couldn't come to Brazil with this pandemic.
Yes, I was actually planning that because I'm on vacation now, and I planned my vacation in order to go to Brazil.
It's going to be next year in August. We'll see you. I'm pretty sure I'll see you here. We'll have fun. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.